Okay, this is poor man's stew as we call it. It is a variation on shepherd's pie, as in not lamb and not mashed potatoes. And it's quick, easy, throw it in and be done. How you figure out the ingredients that you need is based on how much meat you can add or subtract to your flavoring. So this is 2 pounds of beef. So technically 2 cans of corn and 2 potatoes. I'm allergic to potatoes, so we cut it down to 1. When you're cooking the meat, you are going to use seasoned salt or whatever seasoning that you like, but you need to cook it that way. All right, first thing you're going to do, just a little bit of spray to keep things from sticking. You're going to go ahead and turn the heat on. Give it half a second. Make sure you wash your hands before you touch any kind of meat, and wash your hands after you handle meat because it's very bad. You're going to break the meat up into the pan. And this is also how we begin scrambled hamburger, but that is for another day. I don't always have time to write things down, and sometimes it's just better to show you and get a little messy. So once that is in, throw away your garbage, wash your hands. Pause. While you're cooking, I always have a plate that I put to the side so that all the utensils that you use will be on here. All I'm doing is spreading the meat out a little bit, and then okay, we were interrupted by a phone call. We have a spatula. We move the meat around just so it's more evenly spread out. We use a plate to put your utensils on while you're waiting. Now here comes the non-science part. This is the seasoned salt. We're going to do a layer over the top the first time, and then about halfway through we're going to mix it. We're going to mix it and add some more seasonal. So we put the lid on it to help it cook a little bit faster. While this is going, fade down. Okay, what I have in here is hot water because that's where the corn is going to go. I'm a little generous with the butter. I'm a little generous with the water because this is what the base of the stew is going to be. You're going to open your corn. For both of them, you're going to drain out the juices of the can. You do not want the juices of the can in there. I don't know why, don't care why, this is how I was raised. So once you pour out the juices, you put the corn in here, and we're doing 2 cans of corn. What do you think, Bella?
Nom.
Alyssa wanted me to send her a text message with a list. Do not unpause, this can be on the video. And I was busy. I don't know if she failed this task or if she accomplished it. And another thing about poor man's stew that I don't really tell the kids about is, like, you can put peas and tomatoes and green beans and whoops, you didn't see that. You can put leftovers in here. So now I'm going to take it over here. There we go. We're putting it on the back burner. Whoop, that's the front burner. And we're going to do it on medium just to get that going. We should have started the potatoes first because they take a little longer to cook. Pause. Before you start slicing these up, and I'm only going to do one because of my allergies, you're going to rinse them off. Once they're rinsed off, you go over the garbage which I'm not going to do for you guys. I'll do it over a plate. And you peel it off. Why are you whispering? So give me a second and we'll be back to this and we'll show you the next step. Okay, now that we have it all peeled, I rinse it one more time. And here comes the fun part. We cut it down the center. And because we're making this stew, we don't want it too thin. So we're just kind of doing it like this. You can do some that are thin, you can do some that are not. But this just kind of helps them cook and disperse in the stew. So come look over here. You can see the meat needs to be stirred. And you can see all the seasoning. So you want to break it up, mix it around, and then I usually put just a little bit more seasoning so that it can go into the other. The corn is not a big deal. It's one of the fastest cooking pieces here. See, most of this is already done. I usually buy the 93% lean meat, so it's less grease. But, see, we just do a little bit more, not a lot. Put the lid back on, let it cook for a few more minutes. Here. You critique how I cut a potato, and we're going to have a fight. Doesn't matter. And then I cut it down like this, just for a little bit more. That goes in the water. When I am done doing this, we will put this on the stove and get it into a good rolling boil. And then we check one of the thickest pieces of potato that will be in there to see if it's starting to soften. We are not making mashed potatoes. It goes in there like this. So all that goes in, mixed up, bring it over, and we stick this one right here, and we put it on high, and we let that get going too. Pause. Okay, I'm just making sure that this is cooked. I don't see any pink, I don't see any red. Everything appears to be done. So I turn off the heat, I bring this over here, and you drain the grease. I have it drained into a pot, just to be safer. And I take hot water, and I rinse out the pan, because usually I have stuff go into the pan, but I forgot we're not doing that this time. So we're gonna put this away. This can drain while we wait for the potatoes to start boiling. Bring it over here. And for those that do it, I don't do this very often, but just a little bit of salt into the potatoes. All right, and now it's just the waiting game. So we have the potatoes, they're not boiling yet, and here is the corn that is beginning to boil. It has butter in it, and this is the drained meat. I had a lid over it to kind of keep the heat in. So the great thing about how I do this stew is we're not going to dump out any of this. Please stay sideways. Okay, so what we're gonna do is, now that everything is drained, I just kind of do a once through. We put it in the stew. We'll put the lid back on it and let that cook. So, corn and meat is now in here. And I put the lid down in a random spot. And then it goes on, and we wait for that to come to a boil. Our potatoes are now boiling, but they are not soft yet. When they start to soften, we will show the video again and show you what I'm looking for. Okay. All right, you can see that the meat, the hamburger meat and the corn is a good rolling boil. So I'm going to turn the heat down lower so it's more of a simmer. And then I take a spoon, and just by touching it, I can tell that the majority of the, you can see it's a little bit see-through. That means it's getting closer to ready. Yes, I know it's hot. So I'm gonna let it cook on high for a couple more minutes, and then I will end up adding this into there, and then you let it stew for about 15 minutes. You will drain the water out of this dish to go into here. The only water you do not drain is the corn. That's why we started the corn in a pot that was too big for it. Okay, pause. All right, as you can see, this is on a low boil, and what it does is the meat and the corn are actually, it's all mixing together in flavor. Are you gonna sneeze? What we do is, this is at a good boil. Most of it's probably done. I just had it. Somebody put it away.
You told me to put it away.
Take the strainer, come this way. And we are pouring the water. We're basically removing all the water from the potatoes. This potato then comes in here. One nice mix, because these potatoes will actually break down more in this sauce or stew or whatever you want to call it. But this is what it looks like when it's done. You've got potatoes, corn, and meat. There is seasoning, and the great thing is you can eat it like this, or you can have it more as a stew with the juice. And what few people know is, well, I'm a very picky eater, everyone knows that. This is actually one of the foods that I will eat cold without having to warm up. But this is a great meal, and it will last a couple days. So any leftovers go in the refrigerator. So before I say goodbye, this is gonna simmer for about 15-20 minutes, and then it will be done. You can let it stand for a couple minutes before people start to eat. Some good sides with this is the Hawaiian bread rolls. Believe it or not, Ritz. And you can do any side you want, but most of the meal is contained within this stew. There you go, Alyssa. I love you. Enjoy the food. All right, guys, what do you think? It looks really good. And it goes. Now, here comes something everyone's gonna fight with me about. I eat mine with a fork. Others eat it with a spoon. There is no right or wrong way. Just enjoy it.